What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here, PackersNews.com. Late in the day on Thursday, jumping on to talk some Packers with you. We're a week away from the start of Green Bay Packers training camp, heading into the 2018 NFL regular season. And boy, do we need some football to talk about. It's been a day, folks. It's been a day. So, hope you get a chance to check out PackersNews.com. My latest on the tight end position just went up. It's the latest in our positional preview series. Make sure you check that out. All sorts of goodness there at PackersNews.com. Simon, hello. Thanks for jumping in the comments there. Eli, hello from New Mexico. What's up, man? Hi from New York. Mike, Joe, gentlemen, Ricky, what's up, man? John, thanks for being. That's very nice of you to say. Thanks, John. 1 week, man. I tell you. We're almost there. We've almost made it, fam. We're so close. Let's just not lose our minds in this next week because I feel like we're teetering. Edwin, what's up? Chad, Nevada, what's going on, man? So Aaron and Danica are together for sure. Well, they certainly put on a heck of a performance last night at the ESPYs. If you didn't see their spoof trailer of Tanya, I highly recommend checking it out. I included it in Morning Buzz this morning. I generally don't comment on Aaron Rodgers and his personal life, but since that is, they put that out there for the public to consume, I thought it was great. It was really funny. Kudos to them. What's up from the UP? What's up, Mac? Preston, Cobb is back. Yeah, well, if you checked out Morning Buzz this morning, you saw plenty of documentation. Randall Cobb at his third annual football camp. No boot on the foot to be seen. Seemed to be running around, taking part in some drills. Now, when he was as is our job, the media, we tried to pin him down and say, are you going to be participating in training camp? And he wouldn't give a 100% for certain answer there. I tend to think, as I've said pretty much since the news broke about the boot being on there, I would be very surprised if they weren't cautious with him and started him lightly, so to speak. It held him out of practice early on. No reason to push it. He knows the offense. He has great chemistry with the quarterback. So it's not a thing where I think he's going to miss a lot of time. But like I said, he mentioned he hadn't talked to the medical staff yet. So you have to think there'll be a bit of a slow start for Cobb. But still, it's always good to see the boot taken off and still in line to start week 1. Iowa, what's up, man? Seattle checking in. All over the country. I love it. Mark, thanks for joining us. Is that your cousin? Wait, we have the cousin of the woman who rode the bike on the Menasha Bridge? Because let me tell you, that's celebrity right there. Rodgers extension? Nothing yet. As I keep telling you, I would expect something most likely the first day of camp. What do the media members and yourself enjoy most about training camp? Well, I obviously can't speak for anyone else, but I was actually just talking to someone this morning about how much I love training camp. I love this time of year. It's great, not only because camp is great and seeing these guys practice and watching how a team kind of evolves over the summer, over the length of training camp, but there is a feeling of you're back. Fresh start at the beginning of the year, especially myself living in New York. I don't see a lot of the people I work with. I haven't seen any of them since the draft, so it's great to get back together and catch up and kind of get the band back together, so to speak. And even in the locker room, some of the players are happy to see you. Most of the players are not happy to see you, but it's good. It's a good vibe. It's a good kind of restart, refresh. And like I said, I just love it. It's a great time of year. It's no one, there's endless possibilities awaiting you throughout the season, and the season's about to take a big chunk out of your life, and this is the first step. It's great. It's just a great vibe. Free beer for the press at camp? You gotta be kidding me. I will say, though, it's been a day, and I am having one. Just curious, how much time in the week do I spend watching film? It varies, depends on the time of year. During the season, I watched the game back 3 times broadcast and at least one full time in the coach's tape, and then I go back from my broadcast viewings. I always make notes about certain plays, what happened here, what happened coverage-wise, et cetera, and then I'll go back and watch those specific plays. So, I mean, I've never really timed it, never really thought about that, but it's a lot of hours. Now, in the off season, I mostly just watch the broadcast, unless again I see something and I have a question of, how did that happen, etc. Because look, from the broadcast angle, you can get a lot of information, and the replays are amazing. The slow-mo replays you get from Fox, CBS, ESPN, etc. are fantastic. But especially when there are interceptions or turnover plays, where usually a secondary member makes a play, you got to go to the coach's tape to figure out what the heck is going on. But for the most part, you can get a sense of what is happening from the broadcast. So watch the broadcast a lot. But then if there are questions, you go watch the coach's tape. Brats are hot dogs. James, brats, of course. Game you're looking forward to the most this season? I gotta be honest. There's really no single game that sticks out. I will say the Jets game, because I can drive to it. That's pretty great. And it's 2 days before Christmas, and I don't have to go anywhere. So that's great. Who took a jump last year that surprised you? Oh, no doubt Blake Martinez. Zero question. I expected him to improve a little bit, build on what he showed his rookie year, but I never in a million years thought he'd take the jump that he took last year. Now, obviously, he still has things to work on, but that was one that surprised me, no question. You done messed up, Ron. Biggest game, Minnesota? Well, they're all big. That's the other thing. You can't really say which games are big and which aren't, sitting here before a single snap has been taken in training camp. If Kirk Cousins gets hurt first week of camp and they have to turn to, was it Trevor Siemian? Well, it's a whole new ball game, isn't it? So you got to let camp come and go, and then I don't even worry about anything unless other than those first 2 or 3, 4 games, that first month of the season. And McCarthy's talked about this, breaking up the season into quarters. Because teams are so different. By the time you get to November and December, games that you had circled on the schedule thinking, well, this is going to be a barn burner or this is going to be a big showdown. Well, by the time that game rolls around, the teams are totally not what you expected. So I try not to look past the start of camp and then get camp out of the way and then look at the first 4 games, see how those teams are, see how their preseason was, see what their camp was, etc. But yeah, like looking at games in even October is kind of foolhardy to me anyway. If Romo didn't predict the Packers versus Jaguars, would the Pack versus the Patriots make sense to you? Yeah, sure. Anything makes sense. I think the Packers are... Anyone predicting the Packers to go to the Super Bowl, that makes sense. They are absolute contenders. There's zero question. Anyone not picking the Packers to go to the Super Bowl makes sense, because there are certainly more than enough holes/questions on this team that you can think, yeah, I can see how they're not going to get to the Super Bowl. Because, heck, you not only have to be a very good team and have a very good quarterback, clearly the Packers have that, but you got to have luck along the way, both in the game itself, how the ball bounces on occasion, and, of course, injuries. And the Packers have not been lucky when it comes to injuries. The last time they were on the doorstep of the Super Bowl in 2014, they dodged the injury bullet throughout the season pretty adeptly. And a lot of that is luck. So, yeah, like I said, it makes sense for anybody to predict Packers in the Super Bowl. And Packers-Patriots does make sense. And the Patriots were just there. Still got Belichick and Brady. Although I tend to think this is the year that the wheels start to fall off for Brady. 40 is the magic number. That's when it happens for quarterbacks throughout history. So we'll see. Maybe he defies time. What's with Julio demanding a raise in year 2 of a 5-year deal? That is exactly what Aaron Rodgers wants in regards to when you see reports about him wanting an opt-out. It's not about him wanting to opt out and move on someplace else in free agency. It's about Aaron Rodgers wanting to get back to the negotiating table and not having to beg the team to do so. That's what Julio's doing. And the reason Julio is asking for a raise after 2 years of a 5-year deal is because he's watched guys across the league surpass him. Not only salary-wise, but guarantee-wise and total package deal-wise. I mean, when Jarvis Landry is making more than Julio Jones, there's an issue. Or at least there would be if I was Julio. You know, I understand where he's coming from. So that question perfectly encapsulates why Aaron Rodgers wants to be able to have a little bit of maneuverability with his contract. Vikings have the second coming of Jay Cutler with Kirk Cousins, baby. Maybe. I actually tend to think, I would say Kirk Cousins is a little bit better of a quarterback than Jay Cutler was when Jay arrived in Chicago. I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I never thought Jay Cutler was a good quarterback. I thought Cutler had all the talent in the world, but he never really seemed to apply himself. Do you think he will sign a new contract or leave? If you're talking about Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't really have to sign a new contract. The Packers own his rights and control his rights for the next 4 years. They have him under contract for 2 more years, and then they can franchise tag him 2 years after that. So we're 4 years out from that really being an issue, and actually probably 2 years out from that truly being an issue, because once they get down to the franchise tag, which is something the Packers would most likely love to avoid, then it gets contentious. But yeah, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere. I do think he'll sign a new deal, and I think we'll hear about it next week. Why not just sign 1-year deals all the time? Well, you could, but then, say you get injured, and your guarantee was, a piddly $2 or $3 million on a 1-year deal, when you could have gotten, say, a 4 or 5 year deal and guarantees that would have been a lot more. That's the trade-off. Aaron Rodgers wants to play until he's 40, possible? 1,000,000,000% possible. Now, how effective he'll be, will he need to change his game, etc.? Those are answers that I'm interested in finding out. It was funny, I was watching the divisional playoff game against the Cowboys from 2014 last night, and I had forgotten that is a game that Rodgers couldn't move in. That was one of those, he had hurt his calf, and he really couldn't get outside the pocket. And it was fascinating watching him operate from the pocket, not being able to get outside of it. And for the most part, he did well, but it's so weird watching Rodgers operate in that kind of environment because we've gotten so used to him escaping outside and doing things that a lot of the quarterbacks in the NFL can't, especially with some of his throws that he makes on the run. That is such a big part of his game that when you watch him not do any of that, it's pretty striking. So can he adapt to having to play that way more and more as age kind of creeps in? He's been pretty defiant about it. Rob Domofsky asked him point blank this spring if he's got to change the way he plays at all due to the fact that now he's been injured twice getting outside the pocket. And we all saw Rodgers' answer, nope. So it sounds like he's going to continue to play the way he plays. And that's what makes him dangerous, but it certainly opens him up for another injury. Is Kizer making progress? Justin, I know I mentioned this on the radio yesterday morning. There were a lot of reports about how kind of, how he struggled in OTAs. And I'll just put this out there. With Kizer or any young quarterback coming into Green Bay, you got to remember how complicated that offense is at the quarterback spot and how overwhelming it can be. You don't have to look any further than Aaron Rodgers' first 2 summers in Green Bay to know how hard it is. And this is a guy who was considered for the first overall pick, obviously went to the Packers at 24, but he was cream of the crop, number 1, best of the best, and he struggled mightily in Green Bay those first couple years, adapting to this offense. And now, so Kizer comes in after being traded, obviously had a full year as a starter in a very different offense, comes to Green Bay, doesn't light it up, and then instantly people are, Kizer's struggling. Well, yes, of course he is. He's still a very young man, a very young player in this system, learning it on the field. Trying to translate what they're learning in the classroom and putting it onto that practice field. It's tough going, man. It took Rodgers 3 years to even begin to approach kind of respectability on the field. You don't have to I'll remind you about the time he came in against the Ravens or the Patriots when Favre got hurt, and he had to come in for those games, and he looked absolutely lost. It wasn't until he came in that Dallas game on that Thursday night that he started to look competent. So I don't think, Kaiser could very well win the job on, upside alone, but I don't expect that he's ever going to look like he's got total command of the offense this summer. I'd be very surprised if that happened. Does Jimmy Graham get more snaps at wideout than an inline tight end? Yes, zero doubt. Next year with our 2 first-rounders, I say we go O-line and safety. It's awfully early. Let's see who even declares in the draft and what their needs shake out to be. He broke his foot in that Pats game. That's right, Peter. He did. And I remember that, after Rodgers broke his foot in that game, that's when the he's injury-prone stuff started to happen. And then he became a starter and was really tough, and that all kind of faded away. But record prediction for the Pack, Sherwin, ask me again after we get through camp. Before week 1, I'll have my prediction. Will the offense be better this year? Brendan, yes. I think it's an easy answer just because they'll have, we're sitting here right now, we're assuming we have Aaron Rodgers for 16 games. You have to think the offense will be better. But I do believe that Joe Philbin's return will make a big difference, coupled with what they found in the running game last year, being able to lean on that. And then, as I wrote today in the tight end preview, this group of tight ends, especially with the addition of Jimmy Graham, gives Mike McCarthy a lot of flexibility and the ability to really mix and match and cause problems for defensive coordinators. So, yeah, looking at it right here now on paper, they absolutely should be better on offense. Hundley's already proven what he's got, and it ain't getting better. Yes and no. I think Hundley showed, obviously his showing last year was very disappointing. But this is a big offseason for him, clearly. I just point back to 2 summers ago, prior to all the injuries. Remember, he missed with an ankle, and he got injured again, missed a bunch of time in 2 summers ago when it was supposed to be his year. I would just say, yes, it was disappointing last year, but you saw glimpses. You saw some really quality play from Hundley at times, and that's probably what kind of frustrated McCarthy. So I wouldn't put a fork in him yet. He's got a big advantage over Kaiser in this battle of the backups, simply because he's been in the system for so long. Like I said, you can't erase what happened last year. The tape is there for everyone to watch, but so is Kaiser's tape from Cleveland. And the fact that he's in a brand new offense, it's going to be a heck of a battle between the two of them. Thoughts on Oren Burks? I mean, athletic guy. I don't love what I see on tape, to be honest, but it's all college tape, and you don't really know how much he was asked to do or, how he's being coached up. I always wait, really, to kind of dig into the rookies until we got some camp time and some preseason tape to look at. But you like the athleticism, and he certainly seems to be able to get sideline to sideline. So, TBD. Have you seen Me, Danica? I did. I mentioned it earlier in the video. Fantastic stuff. It was pretty damn funny. Does Rodgers care too much about not throwing interceptions? I don't think so. I used to think that, like maybe 6-7 years ago. But now you look over his body of work. You can't sit here and say Aaron Rodgers not wanting to throw interceptions or whatever has cost them championships. Like, I don't think that's the case. So outside of that, who cares? The guy plays at the highest level possible. He's one of the best to ever do it. I don't think there's anybody who would dispute that. So he eats it sometimes and takes sacks rather than throwing balls that maybe would be complete and be a big gain or even just a gain. Also avoids interceptions by doing that. And I get how frustrating that can be when you're sitting there and watching and he takes a sack, especially after he's held it for a long time. But Matthew, yes, everyone reports next Thursday. Early practice squad prediction. Whew, way too early. Ask me again a couple weeks into camp. What happens if Bulaga can't stay healthy? Will he be cut mid-season? Whew, that's a good question. I don't think he'd be cut mid-season. I think if he's going to be cut, or if there is a cut, a quote-unquote surprise cut, it would be before the season. If they find enough behind him, I think they would make that move prior to week 1. You know, not necessarily even if he's injured, if he's on his way back and they just feel that they can make do without him. Because don't forget, you know, Bob McGinn reported earlier this offseason that the Packers did ask him to take a pay cut and he declined. So that already tells you that they're thinking about ways to get out of that, paying him that money, while knowing that he has missed a whole lot of games in the last couple of years. So that is TBD, very much. I don't think that's the plan at the moment, but I certainly wouldn't discount it or be surprised if it happens. Will Oren Burks affect Josh Jones's playing time or role? Very well could, since we saw Jones playing so much linebacker last year, although that was in a completely different system with a completely different defensive staff, save for a few guys. It very well could, although I suspect Jones is in line, you know, to really try and compete for that safety spot opposite HaHa Clinton-Dix. So Burks, while he will undoubtedly play inside on passing downs, or at least that's where they're going to start him, maybe that's some stuff that Jones would have done, but I tend to think that, you know, Jones will be in a battle with Kentrell Bryce for the safety spot opposite Clinton-Dix. Peter asks, thoughts on Bryce this year? You know, I thought he had a rough start last year. Obviously, he was playing hurt, and then he got put on IR. Too many times, I think maybe got a little bit overzealous, a little overconfident, overhyped early in the year. Went for a lot of kill shots and missed a lot of them. Some really poor technique at times. Think he maybe was reading his press clippings a little too much from that rookie year where he had a number of really big-time hits and made you turn your head and go, okay, they got something here. Then he comes in the beginning of last year and he's whiffing on big hits on the sideline, in space, down in the red zone, and then he got hurt and was put on IR. So I think if he can come in and just play under control, play his game, let it come to him, he's got as good a chance as anybody to play that, to start opposite Clinton-Dix. And Mike McCarthy said as much. I think it was at the owners' meetings earlier this spring. So, yeah, I think he's got potential and the talent is there. He's just got to play under control. Man, okay, somebody with all caps with a Danica Patrick question. I don't care. That is my answer. Does the offensive line concern you? No, but the right tackle spot certainly does. If only because I'm not sure what they're going to do if Bulaga is unable to go, which I don't think he will be. Not heard much about Josh Hawkins. I don't think there's been much to say. He's been laying low. He's been working hard, and we'll see how he gets to compete, what opportunities he gets when camp rolls around. I mean, I think Lindsey Pipkins played better than he did from scrimmage when given the opportunities last year. I think those guys will be in a battle for a roster spot, no doubt. Do you see 88 lining up at wideout? I think he'll stick to running back for the most part, but I do think they will use him in the slot, maybe split him out wide on occasion. So he'll run some wide receiver stuff, but I think mostly they'll continue to use him at running back. Can you put in a good word to the Packers organization to sell Packers stock again? Man, they do not care what I say, so I'll try. I would suspect if they win the Super Bowl again, you can bet they will. You should care because it's our season and it's our chance to have a good one. No, Aaron Rodgers on the field is what matters. What he does in his personal life has no bearing on anything. And I don't care. And even better than that, if the Packers go 6-10, I don't care. That's the great part. Cheese curds or mozzarella sticks? Get out of this. Get out of this chat. Cheese curds, of course. Come on. Best stadium to watch a game live? Ooh, Alan, good question. I mean, it's Lambeau. It's crazy. I know that sounds cliched and obvious, but you go around the league, man, you guys have it good. Like, there are a lot of bad stadiums, new stadiums. Like, oh, MetLife here in New York is freaking terrible. Jerry World, everyone's watching the television rather than the actual game on the field. It feels like a corporate setting. A lot of these Atlanta's new stadium is pretty cool, but again, you're always looking up at the video boards. Just trying to think of where I've been. Jacksonville's awful. Tennessee's awful. I'm excited. We're going to Gillette this year, so I'll get a chance to see that. But yeah, I think Lambeau is number one. Ooh, Valdez-Scantling, a possible starter. That might be a bit of a jump. I can't imagine him beating out Geronimo Allison opposite Davante Adams. Seems like a tall order for a guy who's got to come in and learn the system, but anything's possible. If he contributes on special teams big time, yeah, he's got an opportunity for some more playing time and make a kind of case for himself. But that should be his number one goal, is, you know, making the squad and being a demon on special teams. Have I been to all the NFL stadiums? Not all of them. Most of them. Not all of them yet. Is Geronimo Allison for real, or is it Rodgers magic? I think it's a bit of both, actually. I think he's really good. I think he has a limited ceiling athletically, but he works his butt off, and for the most part, he's always in the spot where Rodgers expects him to be, and that's why Rodgers trusts him. Now, if you put him anywhere else in the NFL, is he productive? I have my doubts, but I think you could say that for a lot of receivers that have come through Green Bay. But you can't discount how hard Geronimo has worked to get to this point. And I think he'll be given every opportunity to play opposite Adams. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump. Thank you so much for all the questions. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to yours. Make sure you're checking PackersNews.com for our positional preview series. Like I said, my tight end preview just went up. Everything else you need to know about the green and gold is right there at PackersNews.com. Barring any breaking news overnight, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.